conversations in case anything interesting gets said. Any, I don't intend to make it public or anything. Any problem with that?
It's fine.
Cool. Ah, it's good to be talking to you.
Yeah, likewise. I lived in Berkeley once.
You did?
I was homeless when I was 18 years old.
Wow. I bet you've had like just an incredible life.
It's been interesting.
How old are you now?
45.
45, yeah. We seem, I mean, like, we connected some, but like, there's always like more depth, especially hearing a little bit what you're up to. It's so similar to what kind of I'm doing, what my friends and I are doing here. Have you heard about Sea Games?
What is it?
Sea Games?
Sea?
C for connection.
Okay. No, I haven't heard Sea Games.
Cool. I'll send you a link. You can look at it afterwards. Actually, yeah, you can take a look at it now. It's something I created like 7 weeks ago. Just a combination of circling and T group and dancing.
There we go. Sea Game. C for connection, honor self, group wisdom, gifting energy. Main courses. Nice. Yeah, you got your blues dancing in there, circling T group, poetry, mutual gifting, wild card, gift of chiefs. That one sounds unfamiliar.
It's what Circling Europe does.
Oh, okay. Surrender leadership, circle
Yeah.
of chiefs kind of thing. Yeah, okay.
So,
Yeah, which has a lot of similarities to the Field of Awakening.
right. I've also heard it described as like similar to T group, somewhere halfway between Circling and T group, right? And then, yeah, I'm so curious about Field of Awakening. I mean, I know T group, right? And I know you've engaged in T group, right?
Yeah, I went there for a week for almost 3 years, I think. I was quite committed and regular in it. And same with circling. I think there was a period of like 2 to 3 years where I went a few times a week, either to circling lab or T group, usually at least both of them once a week, and sometimes 2 or more.
Are you not going anymore?
No, I'm not. I mean,
You're doing your own thing, yeah.
I might go at some point, but yeah, it seems like I'm evolving into sharing my own work more. And it's a little bit of, something in me feels like it's more evolved and refined. I mean, some people in Integral Center circling might
Disagree.
might want to think they're doing the most evolved thing on the planet, but but I did circling and T group so long, and I constantly felt like I loved them both. I mean, I still appreciate them. They're still huge influences in what I work and what I do. But like, I got something out of circling I didn't get out of T group. Got something out of T group I didn't get out of circling, and I felt a little bit limited in each of them, which was good for some things, limiting. But and then I was doing Luminous, of course, because you also know Luminous.
Right.
So then there was like the subtle energy work, which really wasn't in either of them, T group or circling. So then I had 3 kind of big things that were like, how can I have one practice where I bring the best of all these things without the limitations of any of them? And that also includes bringing in Osho and meditation and Human University and a mystery school, a few other past wisdom streams that I've been a part of. And for me, that's what Field of Awakening does. It takes about 6 of these major wisdom streams that I've been a part of in my 25 years of seeking, and I get those in this practice in the field.
So what are the limitations and the gifts of circling and T group to you? And how did you solve them or integrate them in the Field of Awakening?
So the gifts I would sort of define as where their biggest emphasis is, which I would describe as T group is more first-person centric, because I'm focused on what my sensations and feelings are.
Mm-hmm.
Circling's a little more second-person centric. I want to get your world. And the field of awakening is more third-person centric, because then what's happening in the group? How is the group a single organism, and how do we support the health of the organism, both individuals in the organism and the collective?
Have you done Matrix?
Yeah, a little bit.
Is that I don't know much about it, but they seem to be concerned more with the third person. Would that be fair?
They're more focused on group as well. From what I've heard, I mean, I've done a couple of days of their trainings, like intro training, and I have a whole bunch of friends that did their longer training. I like a lot of what they're doing, especially their understanding of stages of group development. You know, getting together and finding harmony and chaos and integration. You know, like these stages
Mm-hmm.
are really interesting to track in group dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
Some of their understanding the processes seem a little bit over-structured for my taste.
Mm-hmm.
Like some good principles, like the group is only as strong as each dyadic pairing kind of thing, which is kind of an interesting thing to play with. But if you over-focus on trying to build dyadic connections, then you're actually not in the organic wisdom or the emergent wisdom of the group.
Mm-hmm.
So they take some of those insights and over-focus on them at too high of a cost, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather listen to the emergent wisdom and let the health of the group form in its own way, in its organic wisdom.
It's funny. That's kind of what Circle of Chiefs is, and that's what I've been discovering with C games as well. Is just a way of trusting a lot more than I tend to, because I do tend to kind of lead with a like benevolent dictator kind of mode. Mm-hmm. But now I find myself being flexible on rules that I thought I would not be flexible on, and even like trying to strike the balance, because sometimes there are things like no more than 8 people in a wild card or T group that and that I then have to hold the line on. So T group. So the limitations are their strengths as well, and how do you do the thing that Matrix maybe isn't so good at? The kind of like addressing the dyads, or like.
Well, I don't know if I got to their limitations exactly yet.
Yeah.
Although there is a limitation, perhaps, in inherent in what I said in their strength.
Right.
Because it's like when I go to a really good T group or a really good circle, it's usually because they incorporated more perspectives. So first, second, and third was all
totally. If I can, I help as a facilitator in guys year long, and it's like the thing that's always missing is first person. Like more first person, more like own your experience, like bring it in. Don't just fucking interview them. Right.
So I try to include all three in the field, and I think T group and circling would be more reliably awesome if it was more explicitly invited to bring in all three perspectives, as well as subtle energy. Like there's a little bit more of like, if we can invite body, subtle, and universal, and also first, second, and third person all at the same time, and have that be an explicit intention.
Like a 3x3 grid, right?
Like a what?
Like a 3x3 grid. Like my own subtle, physical, whatever. The spirit is probably the same for all, but
yeah, totally. Yeah, you could do a 3x3 grid for those 3 and 3. Yeah,
that's cool. And funny, that's when I teach dancing, right? And I say that sometimes like dancing is really easy. All you have to do is love your partner, love yourself, and love the music, all at the same time, which is actually really hard, right? But the music is like the third, the third person, it's the third member of your partnership.
Yeah. Well, I also just like what I like what you're doing with the C game. That's kind of cool, and the different random secret game revealed only to those blindly, the wild card. Yeah, it's interesting because I have maybe 4 offerings that I'm working with now.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know if you've seen them, but like my newest one is belly to belly.
Jenna was telling me about it. Yeah.
Yeah, like an intimacy practice done lying down, breathing, synchronous breathing. It's more of a guided practice, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then eye gazing events, and then I do a sonic womb event, which is more group toning and soundscaping together. So it's a little bit like the Field of Awakening, but with an emphasis on sound. Like what actually is the emergent soundscape that we allow to come through us as we I use it with a crystal bowl usually to help create it creates a nice womb quality with the sound.
Mm. I'm really intrigued. I'd love to experience like all these things you do. Fortunately, I'm not in Boulder anymore. I'm I'm kind of so where I'm at in life right now is I've been a web developer for the last 3 years. I just had an interview with a company that would potentially pay me 130K to just kind of write software and not have time to do this shit, really.
Yeah.
Or I can try to kind of like piece together like money from a little bit of like a workshop here or some computer consulting there and kind of stay poor basically, but also stay inspired as I am right now. Like I'm on fucking fire with these C games with my buddies who are playing them with me.
Mm.
And they're just like I just got coaching from Guy this morning about like how to balance that. But in that, I will still, even if I get a job, I'll still do something. Like I'm on the path of being in community. Like after having my relationship end, being fired from my last job, I'm just like I have this space in my life that where I've stepped into building community again and feels amazing. Like the people I play with are badasses and we love each other and we're all growing together.
Oh, nice.
Like, do you feel like you have a community to kind of support you in these practices, or is it just you?
Well, there's a couple of things to respond with. Yes, no, and maybe. But I want to say first that these transitions and what we're focused on in life is really interesting because as much as I'm doing these events and I'm doing them in Boulder at the moment, I'm actually in quite a big shift right now where I'm probably moving to a 40-acre piece of land in Kentucky as early as a few weeks from now.
Wow.
And it's 40 acres that's being gifted to create a community on. So have a land-based community with the Field of Awakening as its central practice and build a community from the ground
up.
Wow. And so I might be leaving this sort of Boulder world to do that in the middle of Kentucky and invite people who are free enough and brave enough to jump into the wilderness to come live close to nature and the earth and feel the rhythms of earth rather than the rhythms of the city, while having these practices be something we do on a regular basis for really having deep resonance with each other and deep connection on a daily basis.
So you're like looking to start your own cult.
Well, I hope we stay interconnected enough with the rest of the world that we don't become disconnected from it, which is I think the cult becomes is like they just disconnected with the rest of the world. But if we can, I'd like it also to be a retreat center and training center where people can come and learn how to build community and learn how to do Field of Awakening and go back into whatever city they're in and create pods of authentic relating in whatever city they're in. Like that's a larger vision that I see also. Mm-hmm. So it starts with going and hanging out in this land and having some people come join me. And
do you have people who will come join you? Who will come join you?
I have 3 people already ready to meet me next month to come and start building something.
Damn, that's fucking awesome.
And I have other people who have expressed interest. So yeah, there's energy for it. Yeah. And as it becomes clear, the space we're creating and the beauty that's there, I think people most people are pretty attached to the lives they're in and the families and work where they are, etc., for a lot of reasons. But they can come for a weekend or a week or a month or something to do a nice long retreat of some kind, or immersion back into nature and integral living, animal and spirit.
That sounds interesting. How are you making a living now?
Yeah, well, that is interesting. So I quit my job 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. I don't know if you know this, but I worked a job I kind of hated. It was just driving a semi. I worked for almost 8 years driving a semi.
Wow.
And, it's just a regular job, but it paid well enough for relatively easy money. But anyway, eventually it was just like too much. And I felt this energy, like I have this essence of something to give to the world, and I can't do it in this paradigm. I quit my job, sold my home, put my stuff in storage, and my stuff is still in storage over 2 years later. And now maybe I'm going to take it with me to Kentucky. But it's like this commitment to live my life, to live my mission, to live my soul's calling. And it's like the I guess things can shift, maybe not, but maybe not. Maybe it's a test. But my agreement with the universe was I'll work, I'll pay rent again or mortgage or whatever when I have income from an aligned source to pay for it. Is one of my arrangements. So it's kind of like, okay, I've been couch sitting and staying with friends for over 2 years now.
Wow.
And now maybe I'm moving to Kentucky on a piece of land that's basically being given to me for this project. And so I'm kind of just in a let go, surrender of like, what's life want for me? What's it giving to me? It's like I've been living on savings. I'm still debt free, which I love, but my money's running out. So it's coming to a point where, okay, I need to either start really selling my events or my healing sessions, or make Kentucky really start working. So, we create a crowdfunder, we start building there, we start creating ways of people coming to make retreats, and then all the, that starts generating a place where I'm having more net neutral money.
Yeah.
Net zero or positive cash flow would be nice at this point. Or what? Or I become homeless, or I sell out and become a trucker again, or work some job I don't like. I don't know. Or maybe I can find a regular job that I actually do like. That's always a possibility.
It's kind of it's my dilemma. It's David's dilemma, although like the terms might be different, but it's kind of the same question. As I can. My partner David and I, and now Crystalline. Do you know Crystalline?
Yeah. Benjamin's friend.
Yeah, like the three of us are basically meeting tonight to decide kind of where Sea Games is going, and Crystalline really kind of inspired me by saying like she wants to create the next practice, like and she's not attached to what it's named or like what it is, like T Group 2.0. Where she includes the other things that she does, like Matrix and NLP and like the things that we have to bring. Like Guy might be in on it, and so I just thought like literally I had that conversation with her yesterday morning, and then I was catching up with Jana, and she was telling me about the things of yours she was going to, and I was like, fuck, like there's someone who's like fucking creative. And in the same exact thing that we're in, and you did something. I just kind of want to give you props for building something that like someone I values. Like, I don't even know it, but like she told me a little bit about it. It's like, okay, that's like, it's a good job, So
yeah, thank you. It's been great. Yeah, and I hear the similarities there. Like there's like, what can we do a little better? What's the next generation practice? And I mean, in some ways, it's part of my sadness and frustration because there's certainly some people who are huge fans. I mean, I had one of them drove with me to Kentucky just to look at the land because she's interested. But so we have different levels of people who've come for long periods of time, or different levels of participation in the field of awakening and so forth. But like with the Integral Center, it's kind of been a heartbreak because they're kind of set on their way of doing circling, and that circling is the pinnacle.
Well, they had that attitude with T Group also, right? And it always felt kind of weird that T Group is thriving in the same place that Integral Center, but also they're business minded. They're paying a lot of rent and paying for a lot of people's living. Yeah. And it's like, hey, like, good job, you do you,
Yeah.
Like, so when I think about, so I just had a Sea Game deep dive where, like, a full weekend where we did 4 Sea Games. Guy taught a workshop on circling. We taught a workshop on Honor Thyself with Michael Lewis, and it was just like, people jumping right in. There was 3 people from Austin. Danny was there from Boulder. Somebody from Minnesota, somebody from France, and the rest of us locals. And Melody from New York.
Danny, what's his name?
Morris. Danny Morris. Yeah.
Huh? Morris? Is that it? Yeah. He came to the Field of Awakening for the first time just a few days ago.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like, okay, we had this deep dive, and I mean, it's the ramifications of that have been considerable, and I'm trying to think what is the next thing, because this is definitely good enough that we'll do it again. We actually gifted everything, so we gifted the whole weekend to people, which was nice because I didn't have to worry about it. But part of me is like, okay, well, when do we start charging for this, or do we even want to start charging? Do we want to make it open to the public, or do we just like offer it to our close friends who really make the practice like click?
I'm very familiar with those questions.
Yeah. What, do you have any answers or any like ideas or threads?
I can just share what I've experimented with so far. I've been Field of Awakening at first was mostly done at the Integral Center, and so it was free for members in exchange for free room.
Right.
So it was kind of both. Some people would pay $20, some people would come in for free.
Yeah.
Now I rent a different space at the Circus Center, and I'm still playing around with. This is like just since I came back this summer, and so I started with the first one with charging 20 or 15 in advance. And then I charged 25 or 20 in advance, and the last one is like a sliding scale of 3 to 33.
Nice, 3 to 33. That's a great number.
So it's like, because my thinking is that, like, yes, I need to make money if I'm going to put a lot of energy and have this keep going. And I want it to be a community builder. Like, for me, the Field of Awakening is not like going to massage school. Like, it's actually people show up, and especially as they do it more and more, they're, kind of like the circle of chiefs, right? Where everyone's bringing their mojo to the community practice.
Yeah, right.
And
you're a steward, right?
I'm a steward, and I'm renting the room, and I'm organizing, and I'm planning, and I'm,
you're spending your time.
I should get paid something, right?
Right.
But it's also like, someone who's brand new is paying the same amount as someone's been there 40 times. If it's $20, and I'm the same way. I mean, I was at T Group going for free for years, and they experimented talked about charging money, and even if it was $2 or $5, I mean, even my own reaction was, I don't want to pay for it. Why should I pay for it? Like,
right.
Especially since I felt, well, in this case, it was also slightly different because I felt like I was a bit of an elder in the group. So I'm like, I'm already giving more than I'm getting in a certain sense.
Right, for sure.
So, and that's, by the way, that's one of the shortcomings I felt in T Group, is that
the organization, there's a lack of a recognition of elders.
The level of, but also the level of play.
Yeah.
Like another way to put it is in therapy, they talk about the 3 zones I learned at Human University, like the safe zone, the risk zone, the too much zone.
Yeah.
right? So safe, you're not really growing. Risk zone, you're stretching into something too much. You're in overwhelm and shutdown. So you want to play in the risk zone.
Yeah.
The problem is, what if your too much zone isn't even out of my safety zone yet?
Oh, yeah.
Then I'm playing father and I'm just holding space for you and I don't get to play. That's what I felt in T group. Not you personally, of course, but I mean, like there's people in the room where I feel like I don't get to actually get into my risk zone and actually stretch myself because we're playing at too low of a level here.
Right. I'd love to have you be a part of a C game where like when we choose wild card, it's like, okay, like that is so basically when people choose wild card, it's like you should if you're not sure, you should definitely not choose wild card. If it's like, do I choose wild card or T group? Like go with T group for sure. Like so then that way the people who walk into that room, which we tried to find like an enclosed space for wild card, to have their experience, and then you draw the thing that will hopefully like be close to triggering most of you, and then you can create an experience for yourselves with that particular group, and then at the end of it you get to curate the wildcard deck for the next group. So you get to add a card or remove it or edit it if you think it was a shitty card.
So it's not, the wild card isn't just one of the other options. It's
no, wild card is like, yeah, there's like a process. There's about 15 of them right now, and new ones constantly get created, and it's such a group intelligence thing because we do one thing, and almost always what gets created is the group's interpretation or like the strange strange path they took to jumping onto something else.
Yeah, that sounds like my choice then.
Well, it seems that you would choose wildcard, yeah.
Wildcard or the Circle of Chiefs. I like that name. That's a nice name, Circle of Chiefs.
Yeah. Exactly. Those are kind of the two edgiest ones.
Yeah. Yeah, so I still wonder if I'll go to circling or T group, at different times. And then circling limitation is like, there's a limitation kind of depending on which position you're in. The biggest limitation is if you're a participant. So if you're not being circled over the circler,
yeah,
it also depends a little bit, of course, who's holding the circle.
Of course, yeah.
But in most cases, I often felt stifled and limited as a participant, that I couldn't fully share, and there wasn't the group intelligence so much as, it's like mental level. It's like analyzing someone's personality. And it's just like, so for instance, like when we start, usually circling and maybe T group too, but it's kind of like, okay, let's start circling, and even okay, maybe you do a little meditation at the beginning, but it's like you start, and it's almost like you immediately dive in. Well, I'm noticing this. I'm noticing that. I'm noticing this. It's like a mental engagement of what you're noticing. Whereas in the field of awakening, there is more space. Like there's no need to start labeling things or noticing things or doing something. It's like, let's just be in silence until something emergent actually moves us. That's authentically coming through us right now.
That's great.
That's another distinction.
So could you do field awareness for the same kind of? Well, I think what Jana says is that you just sit for 3 hours with the same group, same people, right?
We don't really just sit.
I mean, you do things, but yeah, you can break off into groups. But
well, another distinction for the field of awakening is that it can be done with a larger group.
Right.
We've done it with as large as 37 people. But it can easily, the ideal number is probably 10 to 15, but 20 to 30 would work perfectly fine. So it doesn't have to be like a 6 or 7 or 5 person thing.
Yeah.
And then when it's done well with experienced people, what happens is we start with one group. So if say we have 15, 20 people, we have one group where we sit in a circle and we stay together as one group for a period of time. And then at some point there's organic subgrouping. So we don't count off or we don't organize anything, but it's like we're sitting with energies, noticing where our energetic pulls are. And eventually it's kind of like, wow, I'm really drawn to talk to Mihai, and someone else is drawn to lie on the floor, and someone else is drawn to gather in 4 people in the corner into a cuddle pile. And it's like there's a little bit of an organic unfolding, which changes, which is also like in 3 hours, rather than having a 40-minute thing where we do one arc at a time and it's over. It's like 3 hours is like there's several movements, like a symphony. And so this thing happened, and then that completed, and then this thing happens, and you have these different movements over 3 hours, and people and groups, and the dynamics shift. And one of the explicit invitations that also makes it different is that even when we're subgrouping, people are invited to to have an awareness of the rest of the group. So the whole group is a single organism, even if I'm hanging out with a subgroup. So maybe I'm the liver in this moment, but I'm aware of how my voice is affecting all these other people in the room, or how their voices are impacting me. We're still aware of the impact we're having in the whole group, even if we're subgrouped.
What's that in service of?
I would call it organismic consciousness, wholeness, because there's an aspect of like one of our biggest maladies in the world is this sense of separation and isolation. And so we're building the muscle of realizing we're always interconnected with everything. And ultimately, it's not just the people in the room, but it's a greater environment, like more than human world even.
It's interesting. Like what Crystal said she wants to do is synthesize and simplify. It seems like that's kind of what you've done.
Yeah.
Like Stefan. I don't know if you met Stefan from like Integral Europe and Circling Europe. He was there for his really interesting character. Anyway, he experienced SEA Games and was kept telling me how this is a third tier practice. I'm like, third tier, whatever. Like, I love Integral, but that's too like high. That's not my intention to build a third tier. But he's like, yeah, you're like the terminal point of like different things, like circling, T group, whatever. Like you combine things, and the way I'm combining them is almost like a physical reaction, just like mixing them. And the way you're combining them is to actually kind of like meld them together, like a chemical reaction.
Right, that feels true to me. I like that analogy.
But it seems that we're doing. It seems that we're almost like doing the same thing, right?
Yeah, working towards the same thing for sure. And I like the simplicity thing because it's kind of like we talk about the pre-trans fallacy and integral. I heard Bruce Lyon, head of ISTA in Sweden this summer. He used the terms pre-genius simplicity and post-genius simplicity. And for me, that's what it is, right? Because on one hand, Field of Awakening is us hanging out together as utterly natural as we can be.
Right.
It's the simplest thing in the world.
Right.
So how is that different than anyone else hanging out in their living room together? There's something tremendously different about it. And it's the difference between pre-genius simplicity and post-genius simplicity, because there's these awarenesses and distinctions, and like we're actually holding the space and presence and awareness and intelligence on multiple levels within that simplicity.
Yeah, God. So I'm like almost like where to go from here, right? It seems like you found a practice that feeds you, right? And like we found a practice that feeds us here. And we can kind of like, it's just kind of nice, like, hey, good job over there, you know? Like thumbs up, like I hope you find a way to get paid for this, because like I don't know about me, you know.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because it's like when I look at the world, you know, traveling through the world and all these cities and families and everywhere, it's like people need this.
Totally.
They need the work that we're doing. So, I don't know what's the right question. Like, how we can make money is a little self-centered. How can we deliver value to people that fucking need it?
That's a much better question. Yeah. So part of what I'm just off the cuff, off the top of my head, I was like, oh, could you come to the Bay Area for a few weeks and just stay? And this is where I live with Guy. It's this like big event house in Berkeley, like 5-minute walk from downtown Berkeley BART. We have two other breakout rooms, which are my and Guy's bedrooms. Kind of high ceilings. It's just we have circling here every Monday night, and we have sea games whenever we schedule them. Hardwood floors, so we can do dancing and so on. So we have people crashing here often, couches and stuff. So I'm part of me, like I wonder if you could come in as almost like an artist in residence, and offer some stuff to the local community. Basically, get a chance to make more converts. I assume that what you're doing could be easily integrated into C Game somehow.
Yeah,
like
sure.
We do it as an intro. We do like you do your thing. You do the belly to belly. Like
yeah, I was gonna say like if you're doing the menu items, you could I could just add 3 or 4 menu items. Totally.
Like we can. I mean, it's interesting because I'm having conversations and I'm trying to move away from six item menus to like 2 or 3 item. But it could be like I think wildcard should be the same thing. But it could be great to just do wildcard, T group, and field of awareness for one thing, right? Or have another one with like blues dancing and belly to belly.
Oh, you mean like if you have a particular event, you'll have a menu of
exactly.
Like,
the menu changes every event.
Okay. So you don't have events for just one thing. Like you don't have T group night or circling night. You have a night.
We did last night for the first time. We had a blues dance party, and Anna, who's a regular here, she's like, "Can we just come there, get there early, and play games?" And I was like, "Cool. How about like me, David, and Anna just play a wild card?" And the 3 of us plus Anna's friend and Guy, who happened to still be home, just went in for a wild card. We drew the card, which was the card that got created on Sunday. And this card was. Are you doing the best you can? Was all it says. So basically, the whole 45 minutes ended up being like 2.5 hours for the people who stuck around, who kind of missed the dancing for it. Was like just exploring their vulnerabilities and their like, how can they explore am I doing the best I can while not self-flagellating and while getting support from the group.
Yeah.
So it was beautiful. This is just an example of a wild card. Another wild card that also got created by the group intelligence was naked circling with touch. And just like, which I heard that you're also doing that with field of awareness, right? Like, you're trying that.
But Field of Awakening hasn't done any naked Field of Awakening yet.
It hasn't, no.
I mean, it's certainly in the realm of possibilities because there's no rules against
I get confused between the things that Jana was telling me about, but there's some invite only. It might be a different
community. Our community is doing a naked tea party events.
Oh, yeah.
Which we're going to, I think, tomorrow night.
So your community is what?
I mean, like, Jana and I have mutual friends. So someone else is organizing that, a naked tea party. Guy has been doing it for a couple of years with friends every so often. So
how is that community related to the Integral Center or to the Field of Awakening?
No direct connection per se to either, other than some people. Yeah, it's kind of there's a lot of overlap in the groups.
Right.
Well, I mean, the girl who puts on a naked tea party, her boyfriend for a long time is a huge Field of Awakening fan and supporter, and her roommate is a huge Field of Awakening fan and supporter, for one thing.
Right. So there's there's more overlap between those two communities than between Field of Awakening and Integral Center, probably, right?
That's the weirdest thing because I guess so. I mean, over the last year, maybe 2 years, I just feel myself going farther and farther away from the integral center, and I don't.
It isn't.
The way I feel it is that in order to go there and participate there, I have to make myself smaller. And I did that for a while, and I'm not willing to do that anymore. It's like, if you can't see me for who I am or support who I am, or like I can't really be my fullness and my bigness somehow in that paradigm that they're holding.
Yeah, it feels sad.
Yeah, I felt sad for a long time. And it's kind of like with Alanya, I had a bunch of calls with Alanya when we were starting Field of Awakening too. Because initially I was really inspired by All There Is, and that was actually, that's how it started.
What's All There Is?
What?
What's all? I don't know Alanya. I just know that she's connected to Circling Europe.
Oh yeah. So do you know All There Is?
No.
Okay, so Circling Europe, the way they have their the way they see their structure, as I understand it, is you have regular circling, and then you have more advanced is the organic circling, and then more advanced would be the All There Is, which is All There Is like the Field of Awakening, which is like Circle of Chiefs, maybe.
Right,
like
Circle of Chiefs, yeah.
It's more open. It's more like the open. It's like versus like the traditional or a restricted kind of T group for open T group or something. It's like when you want to open. So All There Is, the idea was, simply invite all you are and all there is and everything that comes up, and really just be with, expanded bigness of who we are, and allow it to unfold in this kind of organic group way. So
I've been trying Circle of Chiefs ever since I learned about it in Boulder. And one friend, I think most people love it. There was one friend who had an objection that she said that if she's under-resourced, she can't show up fully there because it seems like, she's like, what's the difference between that and just conscious hanging out at a party or something? Like, how would you answer that?
Well, conscious hanging out at a party could look a lot of different ways. I mean, the truth is, I like having the Field of Awakening influence how I hang out with my friends. Like, if you're at a party, the distinction would be you're creating a sacred container. So we also have a little bit of a ceremony, right? Like, this is opening circle, this is closing circle, in between it. I mean, it's a ceremony creating a sacred space and a sacred container. So it's not just a random moment. I mean, a lot of random moments might happen between the beginning and the end, but there's a container that we're creating, and we also have agreements and commitments that we're explicitly agreeing to.
What are your agreements and commitments?
We have three agreements and 3 principles, to be precise. So the 3 agreements are, the first is I claim 100% responsibility for my own experience. Which is similar to own your shit,
Yeah.
but it has more elements to it, because it's like, if I'm really claiming 100% responsibility for my own experience, it's more explicit that I can't blame or complain. There's a little bit more ownership of, like, everything that I'm experiencing, I have some responsibility for.
Yes.
But for me, it's a little bit better than just own your own experience.
That's great.
Something. Second one is totality, which for me has a couple of different layers, and it's like, means I'll be here with all of me for the whole time that I agreed to. And on deeper layers, it means, like, all of me, right? Like, I'm willing to look at my blind spots. I'm willing to have my shadow, explored, through reflections with each other. And, it means I'm not scrolling Facebook during our time together. And then the third one is extend regard. And for me, that's an interesting one too, right? Because, in an integral scenario, it's like honor self, honor other, or whatever, right? So we have extend regard is what I used to say, which means I care about you, I care about your experience.
Right.
And I don't see these as hierarchical either, which as IC does, because I think they're all simultaneous. But that first one and the third one balance each other, because you can get into I'm responsible for my own experience and take it to the extreme and be like, well, if you don't like what I'm doing, go see your therapist. You know, what the hell do I care? You know.
Right.
But if we start feeling the group as a single organism, which, by the way, was one thing I appreciated in Guy's circle when he was here.
Yeah.
Because I felt he does that naturally.
Oh, Guy cares so much. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not only cares, but I mean, he's also aware of the group as an organism. Like, if he's circling someone and someone in the circle takes a breath, he's like listening to that intelligence.
Totally.
He's like,
That's
what's
so
that
true.
breath about?
Yeah.
You know, like that's part of feeling the group as an organism, as I see it.
Mm-hmm.
So extending regard is that aspect of caring and balancing the first. So if I have an impulse to scream, even if I don't know everything that's going on with you, I might be able to sense that you're in a raw, tender place, and that my screaming might jar you. So then how do I support the health of the individuals and the group at the same time? Maybe I go in the corner and scream into a pillow and it doesn't disturb you, and everybody's needs get met somehow.
Mm.
But without extending care and regard, something's missing in some of these practices for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just made explicit with those 3 agreements. So responsibility, totality, extend regard. And then 3 principles, which is presence, connection, surrender. Present with self, present with you, present with the group, feeling a connection, feeling the group as an organism, and surrendering my ideas, my pre-calculations, my mental ideas, and let the non-intelligent, non-mental intelligence inform me and move me, inform us, move us.
This really resonates with my experience of you. It's like, right, like, of course you would create this.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's like it seems. I mean, I don't know you that well, but like it seems to resonate with what I do know.
Mm.
How did energy school impact this?
Well, for one thing, energy school. So more finer attunement and understanding of subtle energies and personal processes. And healing. I mean, because the field of awakening is a container and not a modality, anything can happen within it, right? So circling kind of looks like circling. T group certainly has even more variety, but it's also has a certain practice to it. Within field of awakening, it might look like a luminous session. We've done family constellations within the field of awakening before. We've done dancing and singing. We've done, wrestling or
and is a container set for those, not for wrestling, but for like circling or T group, or is it just like how do you know when you're starting and stopping, or does that not matter?
Well, we're listening to the group intelligence. So if the group intelligence is like maybe somebody's like starting to share an issue, we start to explore it. Someone else is like, wow, it really feels like family constellations is like totally be a great way to explore what we're talking about here. And we just feel the whole group, and if the whole group is like, we listen for that resonance, right? Not mental consensus, but like where's the resonance where like the whole group is those aletheia moments. The whole group is like, aha. And then we're like, okay, well, yeah, let's do it then. And so we've only done that once. And frankly, it doesn't happen often. It's usually when there's smaller groups. Because larger groups, someone might have an idea that like, hey, let's all dance. And somebody's like, I don't want to dance, And so to have everybody on the same page in a larger group is less common. And that's where the organic subgrouping comes in, where people get their needs met more in the subgroups versus forcing an entire group to do a particular exercise. Because very rarely is the whole group best served by that single exercise.
And do you find, so I was just having this conversation with Crystal yesterday about the subgrouping in a circle of chiefs.
Yeah.
And she had some opinions about how like that can trigger people's like inclusion, non-inclusion, basically the high school lunch table thing. Like, do you notice that happening? And what do you, like, how do you respond to that if people get triggered? Is it just like you took 100% of the responsibility, like it's up to you and care about them? Like,
Yeah, well, there's enough of a container set that it's never come across as like a cliquish happened or something happens and everyone else doesn't. It's usually so, because here's the thing, we don't do subgrouping until there's an actual group field set. The field is not set until everybody is in.
How do you know when everybody's in?
Well, that's part of where Luminous comes in, because it's energy. It's reading the energy field. It's really reading the participation.
Yeah.
And there's not somebody sitting out like on board or what's going to happen, or I don't feel connected here, or I'm a little scared. Like you can sense that when someone's not connecting somehow, and then we continue staying as one group until there's a full group field.
So that makes sense, where the focus is on the third person, on the group. So how do you lead it? Like, what do you like, are you the only one who leads it, or like, have you trained others to lead it? Like, could you train me?
I need to figure out how to do official trainings, because I do have you're the fourth person to ask that question in the last couple months. And yeah, I would like to, because I think there's capacity to do that. I had two co-leaders for the first year and a half or so, who kind of founded it with me, if you will. I kind of called them up and hey, do you want to do this? And they were like, yeah. Lately, I've been leading them on my own since I went to Sweden. I led 6 of them in Sweden when I was there. And, of course, I didn't have a co-leader option.
Right.
And I just did it because I didn't have any support, and everybody was there for the first time, at least the first one.
Yeah. How did you get to Sweden?
And it works. What?
How did you get to Sweden?
Airplane. What do you mean?
Like, how? I'm curious, and how? Like, is there a Circling Europe community there? Like, somebody you met who brought you over? Or like, how?
I went actually to be part of this community called Ängsbacka. It's a community in central Sweden that hosts festivals all summer long, including a Tantra festival, a yoga festival, a No Mind festival, a Sexability festival, and a Midsummer festival. So I was I saw the advertisement for the No Mind festival, and I was like, oh, that sounds like Osho. And looked at it and saw the videos, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. I wish we had something like that around here, because as much as there is cool shit in Boulder and Colorado, we actually don't have cool Tantra festivals where there's like a workshop festival. Like, here we have music festivals where you have 4 to 6 stages, and there's always some kind of music going on. You just bounce around between different music stages. And so it's kind of like that, only it's 6 different workshop areas. So, from 4 to 6, you could either do ecstatic dance, or you could do some Tantra breathing, or you should do, you pick what workshop you want to do, Anyway, they did that, and they had volunteer program, and I decided that I was in transition, and the Cosmic Red Trails were telling me to go. And so I went. I applied, and they accepted. And so I went, and I was a healer. I gave about 125 mostly luminous-based sessions.
Wow.
To other volunteers. That was my trade for being there for the summer.
Did they have that position, or did you make it?
No, they actually created a healing department.
Wow.
So they have a collection of massage therapists, counselors, coaches, whatever. I offered integral energy healing. So anyway, that's why I went to Sweden, and I was part of that community. And so I visited Oslo for several days, and then met with a few circling people. Met with Ivan and Tina there, and Angela. And then I went to Ängsbacka for 9 weeks. I lived there. And then I did a tribal Tantra nature retreat with my old housemate and friend Booster Radvik, and his partner Rachel, who are also, his girlfriend is also exes with Kamala Devi and Michael. I don't know if you know them. Tantra people in California. No. And poly community kind of people too. But anyway, I did that Tantra retreat, and then I stayed in Gothenburg anyway. So I led 4 fields at Angsbaka, 1 at the Tribal Tantra Nature Retreat, and 1 in Gothenburg.
How were they?
Great. Yeah. In a way, there was
More freedom?
more attendance, more well received. I don't know. I've always loved Europe. I feel like Europe's just more evolved in some ways. Of course, I was in kind of the evolved communities too,
Right.
but people really enjoyed it. It was a little bit different. The last 2 were a little different because it was largely communities that were working with my friend and their company.
Mm-hmm.
So they were much more adept at being embodied in their animal body. So it kind of leaned in that direction, which was good because I feel like we need more of that here. And at the same time, it was like, for me, the field of awakening is also, among many distinctions, is yoking the ascending and the descending. So the non-dual space as well as the embodied space. And I felt there could have been more non-dual space in those particular events. So it's like every group of people has like, where is their stretch? Where is their strength? And where can they move into more?
Well, I'm definitely intrigued. I want to learn more. Like, what would it take for you to come spend a couple weeks here?
Wow. I love the idea of coming there. Yeah. It would take me getting in my car and driving for a while.
Oh yeah, so you could actually drive with you can come in with your car and drive.
I mean, I guess I could fly. Yeah, that's an option. Yeah, I'm totally open to that. Yeah.
So I'm part of where I'm coming from. I don't want to I definitely I have partners in this, and I like having partners. So and tonight we're actually coming together to decide what it is we're doing. But it sounds like we're wanting to, we're setting a context. Well, we've created a container of the next 6 Sundays of playing with an intense group, which really committed group, who will just play C games, with the menu being T group, Circle of Chiefs, Wildcard, just those 3 for 6 Sundays. And then Crystal and David and I are just kind of determining what we want as leaders of that group. And I think what we want is some version of Crystalline's stated goal of consciously developing T Group 2.0. And she's like, I don't care. Maybe it's C games as it is. Like, for me, it's like, maybe we find Field Awakening. It's like, oh, that's perfect. That's like the next evolution of T Group. Bansi already did it. Like, we don't need to bother. Like, let's just kind of support him in bringing this into the world. You know. Or maybe we something completely new comes out of it that's maybe inspired by what you do. Like I also want to be respectful of what you're doing, but I want you to be involved in it. But I'm kind of it's bigger than us, right? It's like what wants to emerge. I think we're 3 badass individuals with a bunch more badass individuals who are very committed to this thing. We're on this path. So I'd love to kind of have you come in and mix your ideas with ours and have whether it's business ideas or how to play ideas. And I don't even know what'll happen. I don't know why, but it feels like I'm a hell yes to. This is one of the things that we've been doing in C Game is getting everything. You're either a no, maybe, yes, or hell yes. And for some things you just need yeses. For other things you get hell yeses. But it's just let's just find out what's the hell yes, you know? So it's are you just a yes to come into it, or are you a hell yes, you know? What would you need to be a hell yes, you know?
Nice.
That we support, we kind of bring a bunch of people to your thing, you know, to your Field Awakening, so we can have you can share your ideas. Is this support in brainstorming, tactical, money things, or you know, there's a guy, River, from Austin. Have you ever met him? Short guy, chef, poet.
Maybe not.
He came to cook for us, but he has the same dream you do. Like almost like it's a little bit different. Like he's got somebody who's gifting him a retreat center around Austin to
Oh wow.
build the same thing. So he's been thinking about this for 3 years. So I'm like,
Yeah.
at least you and River should talk.
Okay. Yeah.
But like, and he's in Austin, but he would probably come for whatever deep dive. I was thinking about doing a deep dive in mid-November, either like a workshop with Jordan from Circling Europe, who would fly in from Austin for it, or
Yeah.
another, or a second Sea Games deep dive, where we could put like, either way, we would have a Sea Game, at least one Sea Game. We could put of Awakening on the menu, so you would
Yeah.
have like a pretty ideal audience for this thing. You know?
Yeah.
And then we get to try it, at least at the very least, try it out, give you feedback, like, I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. By the way, I did a 1 hour intro to a group a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Kind of a non-ideal group or non-usual group.
Yeah.
Like a group that is kind of post wanting to go to church, but they have not done circling or T group shit before. Like they're just like kind of new and it was wild. It was awesome and challenging to be holding this space for about half the people got it and half the people didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like this polarity of like people stepping up and they're like, well, yeah, I mean, can't you see? Like, it's already happening. We're already in it. And other people are like, aren't you going to lead us and guide us and give us something?
Sounds a lot like Circling Europe, actually. Like the kinds of complaints that they get,
Yeah, because we're opening. It's like, well, there's that, you're with yourself, experience, and you're responsible for experience out what's happening and how it's happening. And if there's enough time and space, then we can also get to the bottom of some of those polarities, because some of those are the most juicy.
like,
I had one event in Ängsbacka where we started with 20 people, and by the time we started the guided meditation, we were 10 people. And people, the first half hour, people kept dropping out one by one because there was some tensity, and some people didn't know what they were coming into. They just came because it was like the event for the night.
right.
And so they were like, oh, we don't want to commit to 3 hours or whatever. And then some people were like, I don't want to be here because that person's in the room. And then they left, and the person that made them leave left. And then it was like a comedy. But the people who stayed, oh my God, it was so rich. It was like, okay, these are the people who have the capacity to stay present, even if it's uncomfortable. Because the goal isn't pleasure, even though it is pleasurable most of the time. Yeah.
What is the goal? Transcendence? Awakening?
Yeah, wholeness.
Wholeness. Wholeness in service of just itself?
Awakeness, yeah. Awakening to wholeness, that we're already whole, and that we're creators and powerful. We can do whatever we want with it.
That lens, awakening to wholeness.
Yeah. So anyway, I said all that, and I realized I think I didn't answer your question.
You answered many questions.
I liked your inquiry about what would make me a hell yes, because I noticed I'm a yes, and I'm not quite a hell yes. I think the difference there for me now is, money is short, so I have to be careful. But like if I have support to, run, a few of my own events or something that can
totally I would totally do that. Yeah.
Trip and that would help.
And I wonder if you were to drive, if Jana would drive with you, because I was just what's that?
She probably would if she had the time and space from work. I don't know if she has.
Oh, right, she can't. She can't leave for more than 2 days. So
yeah,
she's not free in that way.
Put herself in prison so she could get out of another prison.
Free rent, yeah, right.
she was in the prison of life was too expensive, and so it goes cheap, and now
Right.
life is.
No, she'd have to. She'd have to participate if there was a Boulder Sea Games deep dive, which I've considered. Because now Danny's like a convert, and and like I talked to Heather. Like, in fact, I need to try to jump on Skype with her. Heather Higgins. Do you know her?
Yeah, yeah.
Just like,
AJ's partner,
yeah, just like it would be really fun if Heather and AJ could help put on like a Boulder Sea Games deep dive. And I think the ideal number is like 15 people, like maybe 20 max to do this. But that may be like more like 4 months into the future. So who knows? You may not even be in Boulder by then.
Yeah, who knows? But I've been thinking to do like an overnight event, a day long or an overnight before I go.
Yeah.
I was thinking like a 24 hours or 29-hour event.
Yeah.
with sleeping, but but in the field, sleeping in the field, like as a
like a retreat. Yeah. Maybe, I mean, we can do that here, right? That would be like that. So there's that workshop slot, a time where I kind of offered it to Jordan. He says that he's probably not available that time, November 18th or 20th. But like, as long as you're not attached and to like an X number of people being there, like I'm down for whatever 48 hour Field of Awakening. Like, I wonder if Annalisa would come play. She might.
yeah.
Would you want her to? Yeah. She's like,
that's a good question. I feel like, I love Annalisa. I mean, to have a workshop with her would be awesome.
a little triggering to like.
I don't know if it would be the Field of Awakening because she's never done it, and
I'm not saying to lead. I'm saying to have her there as a participant.
Yeah.
Like she comes to play, and she came to play in my Sea Games deep dive for like all of Saturday.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she comes to play for things I invite her to.
Oh, that's cool.
I met her because she was my student in the dance workshop.
I know. I just heard like yesterday that they're doing something in Boulder this weekend.
Annalisa is?
Yeah. I think they're doing a 6-month Boulder thing. I think they're doing a weekend here or something.
Oh, cool.
But I've been so busy and out of town, etc. I've only,
yeah.
What's happening that way? Like,
well,
whatever, I guess.
Well, feel into what it is that you want. Like again, like that mid-November thing spot is reserved for Jordan, which I think it would be fucking great to just have you there in a space if you're just kind of here anyway, and you can meet people in that way, in the Circle of Chiefs way. But if he's not taking that, we can do a workshop with you, or we could do a Sea Games deep dive where we actually introduce people to, we deepen our own play and introduce Field of Awakening to people there. So
yeah, blend sounds nice, particularly since no one's really done the field there.
Right.
Probably be nicer to have a blended event.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think maybe I want to sort of feel into it and sit with it and balance the other pulls that are happening with Kentucky and so forth, and then stay in touch. But I think something can work out. We'll just figure out what it is.
Cool. And I'll kind of. With your permission, I'll share this video with David and Crystal and just be like, okay, like here's this other modality. I think you did a pretty good job of explaining it, even though there's no substitute for actually experiencing it ourselves. But we can see what they say, like how excited they are to learn about this, because it seems like it could be really good research. So
yeah, something to at least consider, and I feel like we are on the same mission as far as creating organic wisdom, wholeness, and human beings on the planet.
Right.
And I'm not attached to people doing it my way. It's just I put my few decades of background and research, of course, into this. But it doesn't mean I'm not open. I'm meeting with one of my most reliable participants tomorrow, who's gonna has ideas of how he would do it differently.
Wow.
So I don't know what he's gonna say, but I'm gonna listen to him.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I mean, and I'm open to improvement too. Although having led it over 100 times now, it's actually does seem pretty solid in what it is. And so it might just be its own thing, and maybe other things will evolve that are similar or different.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, you and anyone else who you share with, I'm totally psyched to talk more and explore not only modalities but also collaborations, because I think the more I think there is something in working together that could be very mutually supportive and more energy, if we work.
Right. Like it feels sad that like there's so many communities which are doing similar things. There's like We Practice in the Bay Area, which is kind of similar to Do you know about We Practice?
I do, yeah. I know people that were in there, yeah.
It's just like, it seems similar. I mean, I went there. It's just like, it's funny. We're each doing what I love that you're getting, what I'm getting from you, and also from what Crystal was saying, is just kind of an unattachment to the specific form, but like a deep commitment to the essence of it, right?
Yeah.
And how we want to be in the world.
That's what I usually say too, is that when we go to a group or a healer, I think the modality is somewhere between 0 and 10% of why we go.
So what's the rest of it?
90% plus is the consciousness. Like, we're resonating with this teacher, then their being, something they're holding. They're like, we go to a group because this community is embodying an energy that we're attracted to. That's why I started going to T group. I'm like, wow, this is a community that's got an energy that vibrates in me, something in me that I want more of, right? And that's how we go to things. And it's like I'm offering a modality, the field of awakening in this case, as an excuse to share my essence and my consciousness, and to connect with other people who want to be in that field. But it's just a name. It's just a modality, like it's like secondary to the fact that we're humans being human together.
Yeah, which is why the pre and post, what is it, simple genius, or?
Yeah, post genius simplicity, yeah.
Post genius simplicity. It's like, is it before people kind of had it also? It's like we've complicated things a lot, but there's still like a simple humanity to it.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it is. This is a distinction for me, because I'm super inspired, for instance, by Bill Plotkin's work, and I'm reading the third book of his that I've read now, which is Rocking My World: Nature and the Human Soul. I got it right here. And he's got his recipe for why humanity's fucked up and we're disconnected from nature and our natural impulses, because we don't complete our nature task. He has an 8-section cycle, eight levels of human development, if you will, and each level has a cultural task and a nature task. And most of our society is stuck in level 3, adolescence, because we're so disconnected from nature that we don't actually know how to do certain basic things that Aboriginals and Native Americans knew how to do naturally. But the thing that I'm cautious with him and other people is that I also do believe in the integral map, which is to say we're not trying to go back.
Right. That's a very green thing.
We've actually attained something, and we're actually including that, but we're reclaiming what was lost with those people while still keeping the other stuff. And I think that's an important distinction because I think, we got the prefrontal cortex and logic, and we just think that's the cat's meow. But our mammalian intelligence and reptilian intelligence and amoebic intelligence, our base instincts, billions of years of living wisdom is still in us. And when we listen to that, when we have enough awareness and capacity to hear all that.
That's an interesting, it's interesting because so much of it is verbal, right? Like circling is almost all verbal. T group is almost all verbal.
Yeah.
I imagine the field awareness is not there's certainly more subtle stuff to it, right? And is our activities, like you said, sometimes you get up and wrestle or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Very lost.
But there's also a lot more stillness. There's space for the emergent to happen.
Yeah.
Like you're in the primordial ooze as an amoeba, and what actually wants to arise here? But T group can often has, at least for me, often evolved into cuddling or wrestling or whatever, right?
Oh, me too.
But there's not necessarily subtle energy awareness, or not necessarily a witnessing consciousness, a witnessing presence, and that's actually really the witness. The witness is maybe the most important factor, because that's the part that helps us realize we're not our mind, we're not our body, we're not our emotions, and we're all of it at the same time.
Did Annalisa ever do her version of T group with you guys? I think she might have called it presence practice. Can you hear me? Damn it, Skype.
Okay. We're doing.
Can you hear me now, or did you hear my question?
Yeah, I heard you. Yeah,
okay.
I don't recall her doing that with us.
Got it. Because that's when I was introducing people to T group back when I was there, and she loved it, and she did her own version of it, which is spectacular, because it was actually bringing luminous awareness to T group.
Right.
Yeah. So it seems like you've kind of done that too on your own.
In my own way, yeah, and the witnessing consciousness,
right?
Because without the witness, we think, because it's also, you could think of it's thoughts to emotions to essence in a way, right? Without the witness, it's we get out of the head, and all of a sudden we get to emotions, head to heart. We're in the emotions and we're crying, and then we think we're done. Mm-hmm. We got out of the head, we're in our emotions. Mm-hmm. But there's actually a part of witnessing that says we're not our emotions either. We're something even deeper than that. And so don't stop there. Keep going. And so the witness takes us to deeper places than just getting out of our head to our emotions, which is what T group does really well. Its base format is to get us out of our head and into our heart and emotions in a present format. But there's without any other explicit guidance, there's nothing to take from heart to belly, or from emotions to essence.
And does Field of Awakening actually guarantee that the journey will go from heart to belly, or does it just kind of tend to happen?
There's no guarantees for sure.
Yeah.
But it does tend to happen.
Yeah.
Or people don't get it. Some people aren't ready. We've had a few people leave in the middle. That's not the agreement, but sometimes it's actually just obvious to everybody. They're just totally not getting it. They're not in the group field. They can't get there. They don't have the capacity. They need more healing first. They need more one-on-one therapy first. They need something else first, because the field, it's not quite a match yet for them to do it, because it's not really just for anybody or for beginners in a way.
Right. Interesting. So this is actually more of an advanced practice.
I have often said that, and people get triggered when they think, you think something is an advanced practice.
Boulder is so fucking green.
Exactly.
Get over it.
I'm not so audacious as to claim it's third tier or anything, but it certainly has third tier moments.
Yes. Nice. All right. Well, let's definitely stay in touch, and let me know if you find your hell yes for coming here, and I'll actually confirm that that I can invite you. But it should be easy. Just you geeking out with Guy would be pretty fucking great,
Yeah, it'd be totally great to meet up with you guys and powwow about what we're doing, what we might do.
Yeah. Or just be open to what happens, you know.
Yeah. Oh, that.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, thanks for chatting, Mihai. Yeah, we'll stay in touch.
Okay. Bye.